Okay, time for a new video. Welcome back to my channel, or hello if you're new. This is yet another Eurovision 2026 related video here on my channel, specifically another Melodifestivalen 2026 related video, because right now I'm about to listen for the first time to snippets of all of the songs involved in Heat 2 of this year's Swedish national selection with regards to the Eurovision Song Contest, which as we all know will take place this May in Vienna, Austria. As always, you're welcome to let me know your thoughts on anything I discuss in today's video by leaving a comment down below, and as always, there are links in the description to my other social media pages. Check them out if you so wish. So I am going to check out snippets of the songs in Heat 2 shortly, but before that, a brief review of Heat 1, which took place last weekend in Linköping. 6 songs were involved. 2 have progressed through to the grand final, which will take place in Stockholm in a few weeks' time, and 1 further act has progressed to what I still call the second chance round, and that will occur at the end of Heat 5, also in a few weeks' time. So I have some notes in front of me to make sure I don't forget anything too important, and I will try to be as brief as possible here with my thoughts. So yes, Heat 1 was on January the 31st, and I think I might have been incorrect in last week's Melfest related video when I discussed the voting system. It is somewhat complicated, convoluted, and really why it can't be simpler, I don't know. But it says here in front of me, in each heat, the first finalist is determined based on the number of public votes received in the first round, while the second round decides the second finalist, and the remaining placings through a points-based system of age groups that has been in place for several years, with a Radio Hjälpen voting group replacing the former telephone group, as all televoting proceeds would now be donated to the charity, which is very nice. The full breakdown of the results is presented on screen, as was the case on 2 previous occasions in the recent past. The remaining artist with the highest total number of votes across both rounds then advances to a final qualification round, rather than the third placed entry as in the previous edition. The top 2 songs in the final qualification then progress to the final, which will comprise 12 songs. So there you go. It just so happened that Jacqueline, who was second in the second round of voting last week, ended up being the person who went through with the final qualification vote anyway, making that whole thing, to me, seem a little bit pointless and unnecessary. I don't know what's going on here. It's a little bit more convoluted than it needs to be. Anyway, they've also changed something for this week and indeed the future shows in this year's Melfest, because last time out, only the 2 finalists were announced live on television. The artist advancing to the final qualification, Jacqueline in this instance, was revealed in a separate broadcast aired immediately afterwards on SVT Play. There was a backlash from fans and some artists, and so it's back to normal this week and indeed future weeks of this year's Melfest. Anyway, finishing last in the second round of voting with 44 points across all of the age groups, I would like to know exactly how many 3-year-old individuals in Sweden are casting their votes. If you're using a phone to do it, I mean, a 3-year-old with a phone, I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, it was Junior Lerin with Copacabana Boy. He is not a professional musician, I believe. I think he's more of a photographer, so maybe it was always an uphill battle for him to maybe get a lot of love in this particular show. I've written here, crikey. He was wearing a sort of sparkly, feathery outfit. His vocals were not brilliant. I'm not a professional musician, that's for sure, but it was definitely more shaky than solid, I would say, in the vocal department. He had dancers. It was very summery in terms of the vibes it was trying to give off and the colours on the backdrop behind him. The crowd weren't really fired up for this, and it's a fatal flaw, I think, whether it's at a national final or indeed at Eurovision, when you have a fairly up-tempo track and the crowd don't really give a crap. That's a real issue. That's when you know you've got problems, because with an up-tempo song, you want to get the crowd fired up, having a bit of a dance, clapping along, big cheers at the end. And if you're not really getting that, you know that maybe your song isn't really bang on the money, if you see what I mean. I don't really have much more to say about this. It has been a few days since I saw all of these performances, so do bear that in mind. But yeah, not really a shock that this finished bottom of the pile. And when you consider that just under 3,000 songs, I think it was, were submitted to the broadcaster for this year's edition of Melfest, and this was regarded as one of the very best to be part of the live shows, wow, what's that all about? Anyway, finishing fourth in the second round of voting with 49 points was 0-2 with Berusada Or, which means drunk words. Two young guys, sort of facing each other at times and then facing the crowd. Bubble letters on the backdrop, lots of swirling things as well, on-screen effects, sort of green and orange lighting predominantly, and then I think there was a bit of blue towards the end. This was really nice. A toe-tapping melody, very easy to go along with, very sweet, nicely executed, but really lacking that competitive edge. I don't think anybody who saw this / heard this last weekend really thought this was going to go through. I think I've covered all bases there with what I've just said. Yeah, on-screen effects, handheld microphones, which I actually thought was quite nice. But it really felt a bit flat. This was third in the running order after Greshula and Jacqueline, and this really felt like it was really lacking in comparison to the two songs that we'd had previously to get the show going. Finishing third in the second round of voting was Indra with Beautiful Lie, 52 points, liked especially by people over the age of 60. I really remember very little about this. I know it's cliche to say it, but it really felt very James Bond-esque in terms of its sound, giving off that mysterious, hazy vibe. She sounded pretty nice. There was this sort of rose in the air. That's what it looked like. I think it was supposed to be a moon, and then it was a rose. I can't quite recall, but that was there in the middle of the stage above her, trying to ramp up the drama ever so slightly. Yeah, I've written here James Bond, the Sam Smith song that they had several years ago. Yeah, flowery moon, just a bit dull, ? And then lots of falling bits of paper near the end, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it didn't really stand out much at all for me, I'm afraid to say. But I know a fair few people did enjoy this for what it was. So then we move on to Jacqueline with Woman, and this went through from the final qualification vote in the second round of voting, 67 points, second place, 12 from 16 to 29-year-olds. Jacqueline is great. I think she's got some real star quality. She's a beautiful woman, looked great on stage, very much all about the legs, this performance, I would say. She had dancers with her, and she had this sort of curved bench structure on stage as well, which wasn't really necessary, but it throws something else into the mix to make it try and stand out a little bit more, I suppose. Vocally, I thought she was pretty good. What I really liked about this performance was the strobe light effect. You'll know what I'm on about if you've seen the performance. I thought that was particularly effective. But on the whole, this felt like a missed opportunity. I don't know what your thoughts are. Feel free to let me know in the comments section. But this just wasn't hitting the heights that it perhaps should have done. It looked fine. It sounded perfectly fine. But it was still missing something. It just felt as though it was really lacking somewhere. And it didn't really pop off in the way it perhaps should have done. Should Jacqueline make the final, obviously in Stockholm, it's going to be a very similar performance. Nothing is really going to change. So I think she might struggle in the final if she gets there. But it's a really nice, very credible pop song. Yeah, she was sort of laying down at one point, I think. Can't quite recall. And the strobe effects, in my opinion, were particularly effective. And she was dressed all in black. Really nice. It's a very, very credible song. Winning the second round of voting, 92 big ones, was 18's Iconic. So this is obviously a bit nostalgic for a lot of people. 18's are reforming after having had a lot of success when they were youngsters. A lot of people are saying online, not that I've been seeing a hell of a lot of comments on social media these days to do with Eurovision, but I have seen a few people say this could win Melfest, which is interesting because this type of song, very safe, accessible pop in the English language, from Melfest, this is the sort of thing that I thought a lot of Eurovision fans would turn their noses up at, if you see what I mean. But no, it seems as though a lot of people are really loving this. The streaming numbers are very healthy, not that that means a great deal. But 18's, of course, two guys, two girls, super basic pop, very old school, very Steps, if you're familiar with that UK band. They had boxes on stage, and each member was in one of these boxes, and there was a bit of choreo, and things were lighting up, and it was all trying to be quite dynamic and modern, even though the sound of this track is arguably quite dated. Really, really playing it very safe, if you ask me. And then they were lifted up towards the end, and there were lots of flashing lights, and the crowd were into it. And I thought it ended up being a little bit predictable, certainly, maybe a little bit repetitive as it went on. But on the whole, you know, it was a job well done. And they're fairly seasoned performers, and a big comeback. I think a lot of people were into it. However, the winner of this heat, and absolutely in my opinion a contender to win the whole thing, Greshula, Half of Me, did well last year, finishing third. He's in it to win it again this time around. So there was a red light on his face, and then on the backdrop there was this silhouette effect, which I quite liked. He was on a little podium, if I remember correctly, lots of red lighting, some flames, pyro near the end. This song ends in a similar way to his previous Melfest entry, with this big finale. He's got a slightly raspy tone to his voice. I think there's been a mixed response to this track, but I have to say I really quite like it. It reminded me of ABBA's music, certainly. You know, that slightly jaunty thing going on. And it also reminded me of Elton John's Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting from 1973. If you're familiar with that song, that also stuck in my head listening to this entry from Greshula. I don't really have much else to say. There was a bit of a smoke machine, which was maybe a tad overdone at times, but it wasn't too bad. And this is going to stand out in the final. I think the international juries could really love this. And although it's not doing anything incredible, like with 18s, it was a job well done. Anyway, let's now focus on Heat 2, which will take place in Gothenburg on February the 7th, the day after my 33rd birthday. The lineup is as follows: Glitter by Arwen, Oxygen by Leila Adele, Honey Honey by Robin Bengtsson, My System by Felicia, Dar Helle Varden Ventar by Clara Almström, and Raktin Elden by Brandsta City Slackers. So, very, very briefly, let's just take a look here. So Arwen was involved in Melfest last year but did not make the final. He's only 18, born in December 2007, and I don't really know too much else about him. He's also an actor, so there you go. And he is going to get the show going this weekend. Leila Adele is 47 years of age, has been in Melfest in the past, but not for a long time. It says 2006. She was also on Swedish Idol almost 20 years ago. She's also been in musicals and has dubbed voices for animated films in Sweden. So it's a bit of a comeback for her in some respects. Then we have Robin Bengtsson. He's 35 now, I believe. There he is. And he's been in Melfest a whole bunch of times. He had Constellation Prize a decade ago. That's when he sort of came onto the scene. And then he went to Eurovision in Kyiv in 2017 with I Can't Go On, which I don't mind. I think a lot of people are very indifferent about that song. And indeed, has he really had any Melfest entry that a lot of people have really adored? I don't know. Anyway, he's back again for what feels like the fifth time, looking at this. Constellation Prize, I Can't Go On, Take a Chance, and Innocent Love. Anyway, Honey Honey is his entry this time around. Felicia Eriksson, born in 2001. She was Fröken Snusk, who had Unga och Fria a couple of years ago, and that was a huge hit in Sweden. Didn't even make the final. Had it made the final, it would have done quite well. Anyway, she is back with the face mask, and her song is called My System, and she was on Sweden's version of The Masked Singer, which I think she won, and she is masked, so there you go. She is definitely ready if another pandemic comes along. Anyway, then we have Clara Almström. Don't know much about her. She's 22, born in 2004, and she was on Swedish Idol a couple of years ago. And then Brandsta City Slackers, they are another sort of nostalgic group. They're dressed as firefighters, that's their shtick. They were in Melfest back in the day, 2002 and 2003. Their entry in 2002 was a big hit. I expect something lively, catchy, fun, easy to go along with. Maybe a little bit on the humorous, gimmicky side, but do not rule them out getting a lot of love. Anyway, let's go on to the SVT Play website now and check out 30-second snippets, well, 1 minute long snippets of these particular tracks. As always, I will go through these in order of preference, so we will begin with Layla Adele and Oxygen. Here we go. What I'm watching won't be in the bottom corner of the video you're watching, that's the way it usually is, but these are just still images and audio anyway. So here we go, Layla Adele. Acoustic guitar, very gentle. Spotlight on her, I can see it now. Oh. It's building. Some drums now coming to the fore. Oh, it's an X Factor's winners single. If you see what I mean. Quite grand, but not overpowering. Oh, wow. Strings. Okay. That sounds nice, but it also feels as though it has been plucked from Melfest 25 years ago. Nice voice, definitely feels like a winner's single for somebody who has won the X Factor, The Voice, that sort of thing. So I'm not sure that's going to do incredibly well, but it didn't sound bad. Let's move on to Clara Almström with Där hela världen väntar, which I think means when the whole world is watching or something. Where the whole world is waiting. There you go. Here we go. Clara Almström. Let's check out what you're bringing to the table. It's in Swedish, yeah. Got this nice sound in the background, which is quite rapid. Building up now. Some synthy sounds. Piano. Sounds nice, this. Oh. This is the chorus, then. Holding back maybe a touch. Oh, you know what? That's... And then the title of the song is sort of shouted out a little bit more there. That sounds really quite nice. But again, I'm always thinking of whether it's competitive enough. And based on that snippet, I'm not sure it is. But that could be a really nice performance, no doubt about it. She seems to have a nice voice. Let's move on to Glitter now by Arwin. I think this is in Swedish as well. Okay. Oh, a little bit funky there. Okay. This is, just sounds like a nice pop song, really. A little groovy, but needs more of an edge. Take a bit more of a risk, maybe. Yeah, you can vibe with this one. Glitter, glitter. Yeah, I mean, that's not too bad, but I think there's probably going to be stronger here. Let's now check out Robin Bengtsson with Honey, Honey. Let's see if this is any good. Okay. Straight away, yeah, this feels country pop. Some backing vocals coming in there. One thing I will say about Melfest is that the backing vocals do a lot of heavy lifting. This is nice, but it's really quite plain. I would be surprised if this goes through automatically to the final. Yeah, I really would. That might be his weakest entry so far, based on that 1 minute long snippet. Yeah, country pop in style. Let's now check out Brands da City Slackers with Rakt in i elden, which I think means into the fire, does it not? Straight into the fire. Here we go. Bring the flames. Oh, some whoa-whoa-who's at the start. Yeah, this is going to be quite fun, I think. And will appeal, I'm sure, to a lot of young viewers. Yeah, sing along, clap along. Rakt in i elden. Yeah. Has a slightly rockish edge to it. That's going to go down very well, I think. It's not doing anything incredible. It doesn't sound a million miles away from what they had over 20 years ago in Melfest, but it doesn't sound too bad. That leaves Felicia with My System, and I think she's going to have a lot of supporters. Julie Bergen has co-written this. Anyway, here we go. Felicia. I don't even want you. Charming. Why does she wear the face mask? I suppose to hide her identity a little bit. Anyway. Okay, yeah. Somewhat mainstream pop, I guess. It's building. Oh. Okay. Okay, yeah, that's definitely a teaser. I'll end it there because it's not giving too much away. But it seems as though it's going to have this really throbbing beat, you know, as if you're in a nightclub or something. There might be some lasers, cool effects on screen, maybe. I would throw some of that into the mix. Really create that atmosphere on stage. Okay, yeah. I'm going to wrap this video up now because I don't have a huge amount of time anyway. But I would say, based on what I've just heard, this should be a closer semi-final than Heat 1. I think Layla is out. Clara, that sounded nice, but I think she's probably gone as well. Robin Bengtsson could be in a spot of bother here. I really would be surprised if he makes the top 2. Arwen, I'm not sure he's going to do it. So I'm actually going to say Felicia and Brands the City Slackers in the final, with Robin Bengtsson in third. But we'll find out this weekend exactly what the Swedish people think. Anyway, let me know your thoughts, and until next time, take care of yourselves, stay safe, and bye for now.